Timecode NOLA. The New Orleans Independent Film Program.
Hi, I'm Walter Williams. I'm a native of New Orleans, filmmaker, and probably best known for creating the character Mr. Bill from Saturday Night Live. Here I started off in Super 8, and now I'm doing digital and still making films. Yeah, actually, my sister was dating this guy making a feature film here in New Orleans, and I got to work on it as a teenager, and it just opened up the whole concept of movie making as almost a magic trick. You know, you shoot things in different places, different times, put it all together, and then at the time Super 8 was available, and it fit within my budget, which was basically $10 a film, and so I just started making comedy films and showing them, and they worked. So I packed up my bags, headed to New York before I knew any better, and had my films on Saturday Night Live the first season, and kept making a few more. Finally got popular and got on staff, and I got on staff as a writer also, so I created other skits, but mostly people know me for Mr. Bill. So I lived in New York and LA I did my 10 to 15 in New York, and then LA, and then I always wanted to come back to New Orleans. So about 2000, I got more interested in doing documentary films and thought New Orleans would be a good subject. So I came home with a blank sheet and thought I was going to do the music or the culture or something. Then started noticing the water was getting a little closer all around. And so organically, this documentary turned into the natural history of the area. So I made a 1-hour documentary, New Orleans, the natural history. And one of the things it pointed out was the value of the wetlands and being inland, away from the ocean. I mean, you're not going to have bad crime or bad schools or crummy mayors if a 30-foot ocean surge comes in, because there's not going to be anything. So it's great to do all the stuff here inside the bowl, but if we don't get the outside protection, which is the wetlands, levees aren't going to do it. You know, it's kind of a futile, we're just waiting at some point in time, maybe next summer, maybe the following year, to be totally wiped out. And the thing is, this city wasn't like this. People think we shouldn't have built a city in this situation. Well, we didn't. We built a city 90 miles inland, above sea level, and suddenly the situation's changed in my lifetime. When I was a kid in Hurricane Betsy was actually a more powerful storm than Katrina. Hit us in a worse place, we were on the wrong side of the storm, but there was no flooding of canals. People didn't even talk about evacuation or any of that stuff when I was a kid. It's all happened in the last 40 years. So in my work as a filmmaker doing these various documentaries, it became very apparent that something other than nature was taking its toll. And it's clear that one of the biggest contributors to the problem was the oil and gas industry. When I started off just getting people to be aware of wetlands, they would glaze over, but now 90% of the people agree we need wetlands. The question now is, how do you actually do it? We do have a river to actually build wetlands, just like it built the land we're on, but how are we going to finance that? The federal government is broke, and frankly, the federal government shouldn't be responsible for 100% of the cost when scientists across the board say at least 50% of the damage of the destruction of the wetlands is due to the oil and gas canals, 10,000 miles plus, more than Mr. Go, hundreds and thousands of times the volume of canals than Mr. Go. This is the reason we lost our wetlands in the last 40 years. And I'm very optimistic, because the good news is it's not like some company went bankrupt and left us with this huge mess on our hands. This is the biggest financial resource on the planet. They've profited from us for decades now. They're still profiting from us. They're planning future profits from us. Why aren't they willing to step up, take responsibility according to their contracts? They're obligated to remediate the land to the condition it was when they began their activities. But they're not doing that. The state won't hold them accountable. So it's up to me and others to voice our I don't want to say disdain, but voice our desperation. I don't want to wake up some morning without New Orleans. I don't know where I'll go. I mean, other people don't know where they'll go. It'll be a black mark on this country's history. It'll never get over. But we can fix it. And it's time for oil and gas companies. They've got about another month or so, and I'm convinced that President Obama is a very intelligent man, and when all these facts are laid out about oil and gas participation and the destruction of our hurricane protection, he's going to sign an executive order forcing the oil and gas industry to pay for what the damage they've done. Just like Jimmy Carter in 1981 signed the executive order starting the Superfund against the chemical industry, forcing them to pay for the damage they did, even though they were illegally abiding by all the laws at the time. This is going to happen again, and I'm hopeful that the oil and gas industry will be smart enough to realize it's in their own best interest to make a contribution, to fix what they broke. Don't take any responsibility if they don't want to. You know, cut a deal for the liability, but put the money up. We need as much money as we can get to relocate people below us, to divert the river, but it's money well spent. It's money that has to be spent, and that's my focus now. Everyone now agrees we need wetlands. Now it's how do we do it?